Have you ever pictured a galaxy where Marvel and Star Wars have ever combined? Well, I'm going to be starting to make a series based on this, using the Infinity Stones and what if different Star Wars characters had gotten them and used them. The smoke still lingered in the air. As Anakin Skywalker stood beside the wreckage of the siege, the echoes of blast fire and clashing sabers had faded, but the battle inside him remained. The visions of Padme's death have been growing ever clearer, and he just couldn't contain it with himself. Ahsoka had just walked away, and the Council's refusal to trust him continued to weigh on his soul. But then he saw it, half buried beneath the rubble, uncovered during the fighting. A golden gem shimmered with unnatural light. The moment Anakin touched it, his vision just had exploded with the lights and colours. The Mind Stone, a relic beyond time and space, had awakened. In an instant, Anakin felt the thoughts of everyone around him. The clones, the Jedi, Ahsoka, Padme, and Darth Sidious. And for the first time he knew. He saw through Palpatine's mask. The nature of the true Sith Lord unfurled in Anakin's mind like a rotting scroll. Palpatine was using him. He was Darth Sidious, the architect of the Clone Wars, the deceiver who had promised to save Padme, only to enslave the galaxy. However, he had also saw the Council's arrogance, their mistrust, the cracks in their dogma, the fear that had blinded them for this long time. And deeper still, Anakin saw the threats of fate that had bound the Jedi and Sith in an endless war. He saw the Force as it truly was. Anakin had twirled the Mind Stone beneath his fingers. His eyes gleamed the same golden colour, and without hesitation, he had taken off a necklace, a gift from his beloved Padme, opened it and stored it within the stone. Anakin whispered to the stone, and the stone whispered back to him. No, the Force whispered back to him, more clearly than ever before. While he thinks of Padme, the visions of Padme's death no longer occurred, haunting him like ghosts, but puzzles with answers. He reached into her mind across the stars and felt her heartbeat, her fear, and her love. He could not lose her. But his anger simmered. Palpatine had lied. The Jedi had failed to learn of the Sith's plans, but with all of this power he could fix it all. Anakin took off his ship. Alongside R2, he set course for the Jedi Temple and contacted Ahsoka. Snips, can you hear me? Sky Guy? His thoughts were open to her, vivid, wild and conflicted, but within them she had felt a sense of clarity that had never been there before. But he leaves the mystery of the stone just with him. But through their telepathic bond enhanced by the Mind Stone, Anakin had shown her what he saw. The deception, the pain, the corruption, and on both sides. Ahsoka trembled. She didn't know how this could happen. I don't know who to trust, he said, but you and Obi. You don't have to trust anyone, Ahsoka replied, but you do need to remember who you are. Anakin stormed into the Jedi Council chamber, the stone gleaming with his presence and glowing beneath his robes. He laid bare the truth, Palpatine's identity, the Council's failures, and the war's manipulation. Without hesitation, the Jedi had all said Anakin was mistaken, but he had told them everything, including the Mind Stone. He offered them a choice: unite with him to transcend the old ways or be swept aside. Yoda was cautious, Windu was outright furious, but Kenobi was torn. But he said he would go to join Anakin in confronting the Chancellor, and two left to go confront him, but first Anakin had to ask a friend for help. Palpatine's office was quiet. The galaxy turned on the edge of a blade. He was sitting in his chair waiting for the upcoming future that he knew would come. How would he get out of this? Anakin, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka all had entered with purpose. The Chancellor sat in his darkened throne, gazing through the expansive windows at the Coruscant skyline. So the heroes of the Republic have come to accuse their savior. Palpatine's voice was velvet, laced with venom. We know who you are, Anakin said. You're no savior. You're the Sith Lord behind it all. How could you do this? Palpatine stood slowly. and yet here you are in my chamber, delivering my judgment. How very Jedi of you, he interrupted. We are not here as Jedi, Obi-Wan said. We're here as guardians of the peace. Palpatine's smile folded. You dare challenge me? Ahsoka stepped forward. You've manipulated the war, the Senate, and Anakin. It ends now. The room grew dark. Palpatine looked at Ahsoka a bit longer than the others. The shadows twisted and the air thickened. With a flick of his wrist, Palpatine unleashed a torrent of Sith lightning towards Ahsoka, but Anakin raised his hand. The Mind Stone flared and the energy dissolved mid-air. You cannot control what I see, Anakin said. I've seen your fears, your lies, your hunger, and your position of power that you no longer have. The door burst open. Masters Windu, Yoda, Plo Koon, and Shakti stepped into their room. Sabers ignited. Palpatine hissed, "So betrayal from all sides." He ignited a crimson saber and lunged. The chamber exploded with chaos. Shakti just got missed by a strike, and Yoda, Master Windu, and Plo Koon had all started attacking. The chamber exploded into chaos. Anakin moved with harmony with Obi-Wan, their blades clashing against Palpatine's strikes. Ahsoka danced around the edges, striking with deadly grace, and Windu and Yoda flanked him, pressing his defense. Palpatine snarled, using the Force to shatter the walls, sending desk and stone flying. The Jedi deflected, advanced, coordinated through the Mind Stone's shared awareness. You think yourself righteous, Sidious spat. You know nothing of true power. You mistake fear for power, Anakin shouted back, pressing forward, and fear is no match for you. Palpatine struck Obi-Wan and knocked him aside with a blast, searing his abdomen with a blast of Sith lightning. Ahsoka caught Kenobi with the Force, some power she's never actually used up until this point. Stunned, she had fallen down as Palpatine had struck her with the lightning as well. So Anakin, Mace Windu, and Yoda had clashed with him again. Red against blue, green, and purple, but the Mind Stone across Anakin's neck started to vibrate. Anakin was pushed back by the Force, but he had opened his eyes again, deep in gold. Finally, Anakin stepped in once more, the Mind Stone glowing bright. No more! He reached into Palpatine's mind with every power and ounce of ability he could muster, dragging forth every twisted secret, every hidden fear, and images flashed in Palpatine's mind of Darth Plagueis, of decades of manipulation, of Anakin's own fall in another life. Sidious screamed. It wasn't a Sith scream, but he fell to his knees, clutching his head. More of a somber scream, of a more human scream. His saber clattered to the floor. His mind was unraveling. How? I am the power, he rasped. No, Anakin said, you're a relic, and your time is over. Yoda stepped forward, eyes sad. Blind we were, clear it is now. Palpatine collapsed, unconscious, defeated not by the Force but by the truth. The galaxy held its breath. For a second, Palpatine looked up, and everyone was staring at him. He glanced at Anakin, and eyes glared back at him from Anakin. You dare use my own wife to get me on your sick, twisted side? For that, I grant you no remorse. Anakin switched on his lightsaber. Anakin, no! Cried Obi-Wan, but too late. The swipe of the blue lightsaber across the Sith Lord's neck could have been heard from all corners of the galaxy. The Sith was no more. Although he had brought balance to the Force, he hadn't done it in the Jedi way. However, from the ashes of the war, Anakin had forged a new path. He travelled the galaxy, he freed the minds, and he healed the broken psyches, and he united all Force users who were sick of the old traditions alongside all other ex-Jedi who were tired of the Jedi ways, such as Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, and they had branded themselves as paladins. He became something entirely new, a Force wielder, unbound by dogma. Cloaked in gold and black, he radiated fire and serenity. He returned to his beloved Padme, reached into the minds of the galaxy's finest medicals and wove their knowledge with force healing, and he had become a paladin who would be able to help others. And Padme lived, and so did their 2 children. Luke and Leia were born into peace, not hidden in exile. And that is end of part 1. So this is going to be a long story. I think I'm doing 3 more episodes of this. However, in part 1 we're going to have an end credits. The Mind Stones used did not go unnoticed. Far beyond the Outer Rim, in a realm untouched by the Force, ancient beings stirred, the Watchers observed, and the Celestials whispered, and in a quiet corner of another universe, a Shadow Titan clenched his fist. The 6th have awakened. He had put on his gauntlet, already with the blue space stone. Thanos turned with his gaze towards this new realm, Coruscant, alongside all of these others. However, soon it will be mine. Anakin meditated in the Temple of Concord, opened his eyes. There was a war coming, but not of clones, but of multiverses. He stood up. The Chosen One had a lot more work to do. So that is part 1 of this story. What if Anakin had found the Mind Stone? If you did enjoy it, please like, share and subscribe. Comment down below what you would change, and I shall see you in the next video.